The night was calm over Earth, the skies filled with stars. People in cities and villages lived their normal lives. But high above the clouds, something massive was moving. At first it was just a shadow, a darkness covering the moonlight. Then, radar stations across the world began to scream warnings. A huge object had entered orbit, larger than any human ship. When dawn came, the people of Earth saw it clearly, a ship so big it looked like a floating mountain. Its surface covered with strange glowing symbols. The sun itself seemed dim when the ship passed in front of it. Fear spread across the planet. News channels showed the image again and again. Governments called emergency meetings, armies prepared their weapons, and scientists whispered that no human technology could match such a machine. Children cried, families prayed, soldiers loaded their rifles with shaking hands. Some believed the end of the world had come. Others believed gods had returned from the stars. But the ship did not attack. No weapons fired. No bombs dropped. Instead, silence ruled the skies. The massive alien craft simply hovered above Earth, waiting. Then came the message. Every radio, every television, every screen turned black. Then a voice spoke, deep and powerful, not quite human, yet understandable. "We seek one human with courage," the voice said. "Only one who will step forward." The world froze. Leaders argued. Generals shouted. Scientists tried to decode the meaning. Why only one human? What did they want? What did courage mean to them? Some believed it was a trap. The aliens wanted to capture a human for experiments. Others thought it was a test, a challenge from a higher civilization. For 3 long days the ship stayed silent after the message. Its shadow stretched across the oceans and continents. Crops withered under the blocked sunlight. Power grids trembled from its magnetic field. On the 4th day, the ship moved closer, descending into the atmosphere. Flames licked its edges as it entered the skies. The world held its breath. In a desert far from any city, the ship landed. The ground shook. Sand rose in waves. Mountains echoed with thunder. Animals fled. People hundreds of miles away felt the tremors. Armies surrounded the landing site. Tanks, jets, and soldiers all stood ready, but none dared to fire. They knew one wrong move could destroy the Earth. Reporters risked their lives to film the scene, their shaky cameras showing the massive black hull, taller than skyscrapers, glowing with blue energy like rivers of lightning. A single door opened. Light poured out, and from the door stepped a figure, not human, not machine, but something in between. It was tall, armored, with 4 glowing eyes and skin like steel. Its movements heavy, yet graceful. The air itself seemed to bend around its presence. It raised its hand, and the voice echoed again, not through speakers this time, but directly into the minds of everyone watching. "We do not seek war," the alien said. "We do not seek blood." Soldiers trembled. The people prayed. The world listened. "We seek one human with courage." The alien repeated, "One who dares to bond with us. One who dares to face what is coming." Bond. The word echoed. People whispered in confusion. What did it mean? Why only one? And what danger was coming? The alien stood waiting, silent, unmoving, a giant statue of unknown power. Hours passed. The sun fell. Night returned. But the alien did not leave. It simply stood by the ship, waiting for the chosen human. Around the world, debates exploded. Who should go? A scientist, a soldier, a leader, or a volunteer from the people? Some feared it was a trick, that whoever entered would never return. Others believed it was humanity's one chance to prove itself worthy, but no one stepped forward. Not yet. And so the alien waited. The ship glowed in the desert like a second sun, and Earth lived in fear. The question echoed in every mind, from the poorest child to the richest king, from the soldier in the trench to the scientist in the lab. Who among humans had the courage to walk forward? Who among them had the strength to face the unknown? The world was waiting. The alien was waiting. And in the silence of the desert, The fate of humanity stood on the edge of a single choice. The world was in fear, leaders spoke in grand halls. Generals gave orders, scientists argued, but still no one stepped forward. The alien giant in the desert kept waiting, its glowing eyes fixed on humanity. For many it was too much, the risk too great. Who would dare walk into the unknown? Who would dare give themselves to beings beyond human understanding? But far from the desert, in a quiet military base, one soldier listened to the endless news. His name was Captain Elias Ward. He was not famous, not a hero of medals. He was a soldier who had fought in forgotten wars. He had scars on his body and heavier scars inside his heart. He had seen friends fall and battles lost. Elias was not the strongest, not the smartest, but he carried something rare. He carried the will to stand when others ran. He sat alone in his bunk, watching the alien's words replay again and again. "We seek one human with courage," he whispered to himself. "If no one goes, Earth will burn." Others around him laughed at the idea. Some called him foolish, some called him suicidal. "Why throw your life away?" one soldier told him. "Let the politicians send someone." Another said, but Elias felt something different, deep in his chest, a weight he could not ignore. He had fought to protect people before, now the entire planet needed someone to step forward. 3 days passed, and still no one had moved. Governments stalled, afraid to lose power. Generals refused to risk their best officers. Scientists wanted more time. Time was running out. The alien giant still waited, unmoving, patient, but silent. Elias could not sleep. He dreamed of fire raining from the sky, of oceans boiling, of children screaming. He woke up sweating, his heart racing. He walked to the mirror, looked at his tired face, his broken body, and whispered, "Maybe I'm not the best, maybe I'm not the strongest, but maybe I'm enough." Without orders, without permission, he packed his gear, strapped on his boots, and walked out of the base. The desert was far, but he traveled by convoy, sneaking through checkpoints, hiding his identity, until at last he stood at the edge of the restricted zone. Soldiers stopped him, shouting, "You cannot enter, this area is closed." But Elias looked them in the eye and said, "Someone has to go, someone has to try." His calm voice made them hesitate, and in that moment he stepped past the line, walking toward the glowing ship, toward the alien giant that had waited so long. Reporters watching from a distance caught the image, one man walking alone across the sand. The cameras zoomed in, and soon the entire world was watching. People gasped, governments panicked, generals screamed into radios, "Stop him, pull him back." But it was too late. Elias kept walking, step after step. The alien giant moved for the first time in days, its glowing eyes fixed on the human soldier. The ground trembled as it stepped forward, towering over him like a living mountain. Elias stopped only a few feet away, his heart pounding, his hands shaking, yet he did not run. He lifted his chin and stared into the alien's eyes. The voice thundered inside his mind, "You step forward, human. You dare to face me." Elias took a breath, his voice steady though fear clawed at him. "Yes, I do." The alien tilted its massive head, studying him, its armor shifting like living metal, its voice low and deep. "You are small, fragile, broken. Why should we choose you?" Elias clenched his fists, his scars burning in memory. "Because I know what fear is," he said. "And I know how to stand anyway." The desert was silent. The watching armies held their breath. The world leaned closer to their screens. Then the alien stretched out its massive hand, its claws sharp, its palm glowing with strange energy. "Then take the first step, soldier." Elias looked at the hand, at the energy swirling like fire and lightning. He felt the weight of every life on earth pressing down on him. He closed his eyes, whispered, "For humanity," and stepped forward, placing his small human hand into the giant's massive claw. The moment their hands touched, a shock wave of light burst from the ground, spreading across the desert. Cameras blinded, soldiers stumbled, the world gasped. Elias screamed as energy surged through his body. His mind flooded with visions of alien worlds, endless wars, stars burning, giants falling in battle. He saw their pain, their history, their loss, but he also felt their strength, their honor, their will to fight. The alien's voice filled his mind, softer now, almost respectful. "You are the one. The bond begins." And in that moment, Elias Ward, an ordinary human soldier, became something more. The world watched as the first bond between man and giant was formed, a bond that would change the fate of Earth forever. The desert glowed with strange light. Dust swirled in the air. Soldiers shielded their eyes. Cameras trembled in the hands of reporters. The world watched in silence as Elias Ward stood hand in hand with the giant alien. The energy faded slowly, leaving behind two figures, one human and one alien, connected by something invisible yet powerful. Elias gasped for breath, his heart racing, his body shaking from the force he had endured. But he did not fall. He stood tall, even as fear still burned inside him. The alien giant looked down at him, its glowing eyes softer now, not like a predator, but like a teacher watching a student. "I am Kor," the alien spoke, its voice like thunder rolling through the mind. "Warrior of the Caliph, last of my unit, seeker of a bond." Elias swallowed hard, his throat dry. "Why me?" he asked, his voice small compared to the giant's power. Kor leaned closer, its shadow covering the soldier. "Because you did not run. Because you stood when others waited. Because you know fear yet still move." Forward, Elias looked at the alien's armor, black and silver with glowing cracks of blue energy, symbols etched into every plate, scars of battle carved into its surface. This was not only a warrior, this was a survivor, the bond between them. Pulsed, Elias felt strange emotions that were not his own. Rage of ancient battles, sorrow of lost comrades, pride of victories won. For a moment he saw flashes, visions in his mind, towering cities of crystal towers under twin suns, alien armies marching across red deserts, ships like mountains burning in the void. He staggered, clutching his head. What is this?" he gasped. Kor's voice echoed. "The bond shares. Your mind touches mine. Your spirit touches my spirit. You will see what I have seen, and I will see what you have lived." Elias froze, his memories opened like pages of a book. He saw flashes of his own life through alien eyes. The battlefield where his friend had fallen. The night he had sworn never to abandon his duty. The moments of loneliness he had buried deep. Kor stood silent as the memories passed through. The giant's four glowing eyes dimmed for a moment, as if in respect. "You have known loss," Kor said. "You have carried sorrow, but still you rise." Elias breathed heavily, sweat dripping down his face. "If you can see my life, then tell me, why are you here? Why Earth?" The giant alien straightened, its massive frame towering against the desert night, the stars behind it like jewels in the sky. "Because something comes, something greater than your world has ever faced. The Caliph once fought them, and we nearly perished." Elias's heart pounded. "Who are they?" The giant's voice lowered, carrying a weight of dread. "The Valek." The word echoed inside Elias's skull, heavy and sharp, bringing with it an image of monstrous ships, creatures with burning eyes, and skies torn apart by war. "They devour worlds," Kor said, his voice a growl. "They enslave the strong. They erase the weak. They leave nothing behind but ashes." Elias's breath caught, his chest tight. "And you think Earth will be next?" Kor nodded, the ground trembling with emotion. "Your planet shines bright in the dark, rich with life, rich with spirit. The Valek will come. It is only a matter of time." Elias clenched his fists, the bond inside him pulsing with heat. "Then why bond with me? Why not warn all of humanity?" Kor lowered his gaze. "Because your people are divided. I have seen this through your memories. Leaders fight for power. Nations distrust one another. Armies prepare to fight themselves instead of the true enemy. If I speak to them all, They will only argue. But if I bond with one, then trust can be built through action, through proof, through sacrifice. Elias felt the truth of it. The bond carried the alien sincerity into his chest. He could feel no lies, only the weight of Kor's mission. "And why me?" Elias asked again. Softer this time, Kor's voice rumbled like distant thunder. "Because you carry courage, and courage is the seed of unity. One soldier who dares may inspire 1,000 who fear." The silence between them grew heavy, broken only by the sound of desert wind. In the distance, human soldiers shifted nervously, their rifles shaking. None dared to fire, but none dared to relax either. Kor turned his head toward them, then back to Elias. "They fear me, as they should, but you must stand as the bridge between us. You must show them that this bond is not a curse, but a gift." Elias breathed deeply, his body still aching from the bonding ritual, his heart still unsure, but he nodded slowly. "Then teach me, show me what it means." The giant's armor shifted, plates opening slightly, glowing with energy. "Then you will train, soldier. You will learn the ways of the Keleth. You will carry my strength and my memory, and together we will prepare for what comes." The bond pulsed again, brighter now. Elias felt warmth spread through his veins, strength he had never known filling his limbs, his senses sharper, his thoughts clearer. For the first time, he realized he was no longer only human, he was something new, something between man and giant. The alien giant looked down at him, its deep voice steady. "This is only the beginning." Elias Ward, "From this moment, your life is no longer only your own. Your fate and mine are bound, and through us, the fate of Earth will be decided." The desert night seemed to shiver at those words, and the world watching knew that history had just changed forever. The night after the bond was formed, Elias felt his body was no longer the same. His heartbeat was stronger, his breathing deeper. Every sound in the desert seemed sharper. He could hear the crackle of fire from campfires. Miles away, he could feel the weight of footsteps in the sand, as if the earth itself whispered to him. Kor, the alien giant, watched him carefully, its glowing eyes unblinking, its voice heavy with command. "The bond has begun, but it is not complete. You must prove that your courage was not only in stepping forward. You must prove that you can carry the bond without breaking." Elias clenched his fists, the new strength inside him strange but unsteady. "What do I need to do?" he asked. Kor extended its massive hand and pointed to the desert mountains rising in the distance, black silhouettes against the starlit sky. "We go there, the test awaits. Only then will the bond hold." The journey began at dawn, the desert sun rising like a burning eye. Elias walked beside the giant, his legs aching to keep pace. But strangely, he did not tire as easily as before. Each step felt guided by some hidden energy. They crossed dunes that stretched like endless golden waves. They climbed rocky cliffs where even goats would stumble. And still Elias pressed forward, the bond pulsing with every breath. As they reached the mountain valley, the air grew colder, the winds sharper, shadows gathered between the rocks, and a strange humming sound echoed through the cliffs. Kor stopped, his voice deep. "This place is sacred to the Keleth, a place of trials. Here the bond is tested, here weakness is revealed." Elias swallowed hard, his hands trembling despite the strange new strength in his body. "And if I fail?" he asked, the alien's glowing eyes fixed on him. "Then the bond will shatter, and so will you." The words hung heavy in the air, but Elias did not turn back. He nodded and stepped into the valley. The moment they entered, the ground shook, stones rolled, and the humming grew louder. Shapes began to form from the shadows, tall figures of light and darkness, their forms twisting. Not flesh but energy given shape. Elias froze. "What are they?" Kor raised his head. "They are echoes, memories of the bond. Born from your fear and mine. They are not alive, but they will fight as if they are." The first figure lunged forward, its body blazing like fire, its hand forming a blade of pure light. Elias jumped back, his instincts screaming. But before he could move again, Kor's voice thundered in his mind. Do not run. Fight. Elias gritted his teeth, his hand closing around the knife at his belt. He swung as the figure struck, sparks of energy clashing against steel. The impact shook his arm, but he did not fall. The bond pulsed, and suddenly he saw through Kor's memories, saw the way the alien giant once fought in great battles, saw how to move, how to strike. Elias moved with new skill, ducking under the blade, driving his knife into the shadow's chest. The figure burst into sparks and vanished, but more came, 3 shadows rising at once, each different, one with wings, one with claws, one with eyes burning like fire. Sweat poured down Elias's face. His muscles burned, but the bond carried him forward. He struck, blocked, rolled across the sand, every motion guided by memories not his own. Kor stood back, watching, his voice echoing in Elias's mind. This is your test, human. I cannot fight for you. You must carry my strength as your own, or the bond will die here. The battle raged. Elias cried out as claws tore across his shoulder, pain searing, blood running. But still he fought, refusing to fall. He stabbed the winged shadow, kicked the clawed one into the rocks, struck the burning-eyed figure with a roar of fury, each strike fueled by the bond, fueled by the memories of battles greater than his own. Finally, the last shadow fell, exploding into a storm of sparks that rained down like dying stars. The valley grew quiet, only the wind remained. Elias dropped to his knees, gasping for air, his body trembling, his knife cracked and broken, his uniform torn and bloody. Yet he was alive. Kor stepped forward, towering above him, its glowing eyes brighter than before. You have faced the trial. You have endured fear, pain, and blood, and still you rise. The bond pulsed, stronger now. Elias felt warmth spread through his chest, a deep connection flowing between them. Not just strength, but trust. Kor placed a massive hand on Elias's shoulder, careful not to crush him. The bond holds from this moment. You are no longer only human, you are Caliph bonded, warrior of 2 worlds. Elias forced himself to stand, pain still burning but pride burning brighter. Then I will fight, not just for me, but for Earth, for you, for all who cannot. The alien's voice rumbled, almost like approval. Good, for the true battle has not yet begun. What you fought here were only shadows. The real enemy will not be so merciful. Elias looked up at the starlit sky, his chest rising and falling, his scars burning like fire. But in his heart a new flame had been lit. The bond was complete. The test was passed, and for the first time, humanity had a warrior bound to a giant of the stars. But far above them, beyond the blackness of space, something else was moving. The shadow of the Valak drawing closer, and soon, Earth would need more than courage. It would need war. The desert wind blew cold against Elias Ward's face, but his body no longer felt weak. The bond had changed him. His wounds from the trial still bled, yet strength pulsed through his veins, a strange fire that would not let him collapse. He looked at his hands, still trembling, but they no longer felt like the hands of an ordinary man when he closed his fist. Energy hummed beneath his skin, a force that was both alien and human. Kor, the giant alien, watched him carefully, its glowing eyes steady. The bond grows stronger. You survived the trial. Now you will learn to wield what you carry. Elias breathed deeply, his chest heavy but alive. I feel different, he said, his voice low, like I can see more, hear more, even think faster. The alien giant nodded. Your senses are sharpened, your strength increased, your mind linked to mine. But do not mistake power for mastery. The bond is a tool, not a weapon without purpose. Elias clenched his fists again, hearing the faint echo of Kor's heartbeat inside his own. 2 rhythms, now 1. But before training could begin, the ground trembled. A distant rumble echoing across the desert. Both human and alien turned their eyes to the sky. Above the earth, shadows stretched, Dark shapes piercing through the clouds, smaller ships breaking away from the void of space, their hulls jagged. Their engines burning with red light. Kor's voice dropped to a growl. Too soon. Elias tensed, his hand reaching for his weapon. What is it? The giant's eyes glowed with warning. The enemy, the Valak, they have found us. Panic spread across the military camp surrounding the alien ship. Alarms screamed. Soldiers ran for their weapons. Jets roared into the skies. But none of them had seen such ships before. Their design cruel, sharp, like blades cutting through the heavens. One of the black vessels descended quickly, crashing into the desert with a storm of sand and fire. The ground shook as its monstrous form unfolded. Armored beasts of metal and flesh emerged from its belly. Creatures with spiked limbs and burning red eyes. The soldiers opened fire. Bullets tore into the monsters, but their armor deflected the rounds. Their claws sliced through steel. Tanks were ripped apart like toys. Screams filled the desert air. Elias's heart pounded. Fear surged. But the bond pulsed. Kor's voice thundered in his mind. Now, human, now you must fight. Your trial was only the beginning. Kor stepped forward, drawing a massive weapon from his back, a blade longer than a car, glowing with blue fire. His roar echoed across the battlefield, shaking the ground itself. Elias felt the call inside his chest. He drew his rifle, but when the first Valak beast leapt at him, something strange happened. His hands moved faster than he thought, his aim sharper, his reflexes inhuman. He fired a burst, striking the creature's glowing core, and for the first time it fell. Shock ran through him. His body was not the same. The bond guided his movements, his senses, his strength. 3 more beasts charged. Claws raised. Elias ducked low, rolled across the sand, and fired again. His bullets finding their marks with impossible accuracy. Soldiers nearby gasped. How is he doing that? One shouted, but Elias had no time to answer. Kor fought like a storm, his blades slicing through enemies with arcs of blue lightning. Every strike shaking the ground, every roar echoing like thunder. But for every beast that fell, more crawled from the enemy ship. Their numbers endless, their rage unbroken. Elias's lungs burned, sweat poured down his face. But he refused to stop, the bond feeding him strength, his fear drowned by something greater. A shared will between man and alien. Suddenly, a massive creature emerged, larger than the others, its body covered in black armor. Its mouth glowing with red fire. Kor growled. A Valak champion, the beast roared, the sound splitting the air. It charged straight toward Elias, ignoring the alien giant, as if it sensed the bond, as if it wanted to tear apart the human who had dared to stand. Elias froze for a heartbeat, but Kor's voice surged inside his mind. Do not retreat. Stand your ground. You are not weak. You are Kelith bonded. The beast lunged, its claws like blades. Elias raised his weapon, fired round after round. Sparks flew, armor shattered, but the monster kept coming. At the last second, Elias leapt aside, his body moving faster than his thoughts. He rolled across the sand, grabbed a fallen soldier's grenade, pulled the pin, and hurled it into the beast's open mouth. The explosion shook the desert. Fire burst from the creature's skull, its massive body collapsing with a thunderous crash. Silence fell for a moment. Soldiers stared wide-eyed at the human who had just brought down the monster. Kor stepped beside him, placing a massive hand on his shoulder. You fought well, Elias Ward. The bond is strong within you, stronger than I expected. But Elias could barely breathe, his chest heaving, his body trembling. This is only the start, isn't it? He said. Kor's glowing eyes turned to the sky, where more dark ships were moving, distant, but many, their red engines burning like eyes in the night. No, Kor rumbled, his voice low and grim. This was only the first strike. The true war is still coming. Elias looked at the fallen beasts, at the broken tanks, at the terrified soldiers staring at him. He felt the bond pulsing stronger than ever. And he knew the path ahead would demand more than courage. It would demand everything. The desert smelled of smoke and blood. The stars above looked cold and far away, and as silence fell again, one truth echoed in his heart: Earth had entered a war it could not escape, and he, Elias Ward, was now its first defender. The night sky above Earth burned with fire. Red streaks tore across the heavens as the Valak ships descended in greater numbers, their engines glowing like the eyes of demons. Cities around the world went dark. Power grids failed. Communication lines shattered. Fear spread faster than the fire raining down. Armies gathered, tanks rolled, jets screamed through the air. Soldiers prayed with shaking hands on their rifles. Humanity was preparing for its first true battle against an enemy not of this world. In the desert, Elias Ward stood with Kor, the alien giant, both watching the horizon as hundreds of Valak vessels pierced the clouds, their dark shapes blotting out the stars. Elias felt the bond pulsing inside him like a second heartbeat. Strength filled his limbs, his vision sharper than any soldier beside him. Yet deep down, fear still clawed at him. Kor placed a massive hand on his shoulder, his deep voice steady. This is where your people must stand. This is where the bond will show its purpose. Remember, you are not fighting alone. Elias nodded, his eyes fixed on the incoming swarm. Then let's make them regret coming here. The first wave struck at dawn. The sky turned red as enemy fire rained down. Valak creatures stormed the battlefield, their claws slicing through steel, their armor shrugging off bullets. Human soldiers fought bravely. Rockets screamed into the sky. Jets dove through enemy fire. Explosions shook the ground, yet the Valak kept coming, relentless, unbroken. Kor roared, his voice shaking the desert. He charged into the horde, his massive blade cutting through monsters with arcs of blue lightning, each strike tearing through armor, each roar a storm of fury. Elias followed, his body moving faster than he thought possible, his rifle spitting fire, every shot striking true, guided by the bond. He rolled across the sand, leapt over fallen tanks, and brought down beasts twice his size. Soldiers nearby stared in awe. "Is that a human?" one whispered. "No," another said. "That's something more." But there was no time for awe. A massive Valak war machine descended from the skies, a towering beast of metal and flesh, cannons glowing, claws scraping against the earth. Kor growled. "A siege beast," the monster roared, unleashing a storm of fire that sent tanks flying. Soldiers screamed as the ground erupted, smoke and flames rising into the sky. Elias clenched his fists. "We can't let it reach the city." Bond pulsed. Kor's voice thundered in his mind. "Then we stop it together." They charged, man and giant side by side, the ground shaking under Kor's massive steps, Elias darting between rubble and fire. Their bond making them move as one. Kor's blade struck first, crashing against the siege beast's armor, sparks flying like meteors. The monster staggered but did not fall. It swung its massive claw, knocking Kor back, the ground shaking. With the impact, Elias ran forward, climbing onto the beast's leg, gunfire tearing into its joints, explosions ripping small gaps in its armor. The creature roared in fury, trying to shake him off. The bond surged, and Elias felt Kor's strength guiding him. He leapt higher, clinging to the monster's back, planting grenades into the glowing cracks of its armor. "Now!" Kor roared, rising with fury, his blade glowing brighter. He struck at the same moment. Elias hurled his last grenade. The desert lit up with fire. The siege beast screamed, its body tearing apart in a storm of blue and red energy. Then it collapsed into the sand with a crash that echoed for miles. Soldiers cheered, voices rising above the fire and smoke. "They did it!" someone cried. The giant and the human. But victory was short. The horizon burned with more enemy ships descending, dozens, then hundreds, their shadows spreading like a plague across the sky. Elias dropped to his knees, gasping, his chest heaving. "There are too many," he whispered. Kor stood tall, his glowing eyes fixed on the sky, his voice low but firm. "Yes, But battles are not won by numbers alone. They are won by those who refuse to fall. The bond pulsed stronger than ever. Elias felt his pain fade. Replaced by a burning fire of determination, he stood again, gripping his weapon. Then we fight, no matter what comes, all around them. Human soldiers rallied, inspired by the sight of the lone man and the giant standing unbroken. They loaded their weapons, jets circled back into formation. Tanks rolled forward once more. The desert became a storm of fire and thunder. Humans and Caliph fighting side by side against the endless wave of Valek. Explosions lit the sky, roars and screams filled the earth. Elias fought like a man possessed. His every motion guided by the bond. He struck, fired, leapt, and survived where no ordinary soldier could. His courage blazing brighter than the flames around him, and beside him, Kor fought like a living mountain, his blade cutting through waves of enemies, his roars shaking even the fearless Valek. The battle raged for hours, the sands soaked in fire and blood. Yet neither man nor giant gave ground. At last, when the sun dipped low and the sky turned red with both sunset and fire, Elias stood on a dune, his body trembling, his uniform torn and burned, yet his eyes still fierce. Kor stood beside him, his armor cracked, his blade dripping with alien blood. You see now, Elias Ward. You see what it means to be bonded. You are more than human now. You are a warrior of two worlds. Elias looked at the battlefield, at the broken ships, at the thousands of bodies, both human and alien, his voice quiet but steady. This is only the beginning, isn't it? Kor's glowing eyes turned toward the horizon, where even more shadows stirred. Yes, the Valek will not stop. This was only the first of many battles. The war has only begun, and in that moment, as the world bled and burned, Elias knew his life was no longer his own. He was no longer just a soldier. He was Earth's bond, Earth's defender, Earth's hope. The battlefield was silent at last, the smoke rising into the sky. Broken ships lay scattered across the desert. Fires burned where the Valek had fallen, the ground itself scarred and blackened. Elias Ward stood among the ruins, his uniform torn, his body covered in blood and dust, his hands trembling but still holding his weapon, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. Beside him towered Kor, the alien giant, his blade cracked, his armor dented and scorched, but his glowing eyes still burned with unbroken fire. The soldiers of Earth gathered slowly, their faces pale, their eyes wide. They looked at Elias and Kor with awe, not fear now, but something different, something like respect. The first human and the first Caliph warrior had stood side by side, and together they had stopped the Valek's first strike. Yet Elias knew it was not victory, it was survival. Kor's voice rumbled low. The Valek have tested us, and we endured, but they will return, stronger, fiercer. They will not stop until your world is ash. Elias tightened his grip on his rifle, his tired eyes lifting to the dark horizon. Then we will not stop either, he said. The soldiers nearby heard his words. They felt the weight behind them. They stood straighter, their fear replaced with fire. For the first time, humanity had seen the enemy with their own eyes. And for the first time, they had seen a human rise above fear. News spread across the world. Cameras broadcast the image again and again. One soldier standing beside an alien giant, both scarred but unbroken. The world whispered his name, Elias Ward. In villages and cities, children repeated it. In halls of power, leaders spoke it with unease. In the hearts of soldiers it became a spark. Kor turned to Elias, his deep voice steady. You are more than a soldier now, you are a symbol. The bond is not only between us, it is between your people and mine. You carry a legacy that will shape the stars. Elias shook his head slowly, his voice quiet. I'm just a man who couldn't walk away. Kor's glowing eyes softened. That is why you were chosen. Because courage is not about strength. It is about standing when you wish to fall. The bond pulsed in Elias's chest. He felt the truth in the alien's words. He felt the weight of what was coming. In the following days, Armies rebuilt, nations that once argued now gathered. Leaders who once distrusted each other now spoke with urgency. The world had been forced to change. The fear of the Valak became the fire of unity, and at the heart of it stood the story of one human soldier and one alien giant. Elias trained with Kor each day, learning more about the Caliph, about their weapons, their history, their ways of war. The bond grew deeper, and with it his strength and his understanding. He moved faster, fought harder, fought sharper, yet he never forgot that he was still human, and that his courage came not from power, but from choice. But even as the world began to prepare, even as humans and Caliph worked side by side, the shadow of the Valak loomed larger. Scouts reported strange signals from deep space, whispers of vast fleets gathering, entire armadas that could drown the skies of Earth. Elias stood one night at the edge of the desert, the stars above endless, the bond pulsing quietly in his chest. "How many battles are coming?" he asked. Kor stood beside him, his voice low. "As many as it takes, until either they are broken, or we are." Elias closed his eyes, feeling the weight of the future pressing down, but he did not falter. "Then I will fight. As long as I can stand, as long as Earth still breathes." Kor bowed his massive head, a rare gesture of respect from a Caliph warrior. "Then know this," Elias warned, "you are no longer alone. Where you walk, I will walk. Where you fight, I will fight. Our bond is our strength, and through it, even the stars will hear your name." The desert wind carried their voices away, but their vow remained, unshaken, unbroken. Months later, when the first great fleet of the Valak was seen approaching the solar system, humanity did not cower, humanity prepared, and at the front of every plan, every defense, every dream of survival, was the bond between one human soldier and one alien giant. Some called it destiny, some called it chance, but to Elias it was simple. He had made a choice, and he would make it again, for courage was not about being fearless. It was about walking into the unknown and saying, "I will not run." The battle to save Earth had only just begun, but already a legacy was born. And across the galaxy, in places where enemies watched and allies waited, the story of the bond spread like fire. A story of one human who dared. A story of hope in the face of endless darkness. It would be remembered not as the tale of victory, but as the beginning. The moment when Earth found its voice among the stars, and so the legend of Elias Ward and Kor of the Caliph was written, not in books or songs, but in blood, in courage, in the unbreakable bond that would shape the fate of worlds.